It all started with a strange feeling. You know that weird feeling when someone is watching you? At first, I thought I was just imagining it. I was busy with work, tired, and not sleeping well. But then I saw him, a man. He was standing in the crowd at the subway station. He didn't move. He didn't check his phone. He didn't even blink. He was just staring at me. The next day, I saw him again. This time, he was at the bus stop near my office. Same man, same face, same cold eyes watching me. I felt nervous. Maybe it was just a coincidence, right? But on the third day, I saw him in the grocery store. He wasn't shopping. He didn't have a cart. He was just standing in one of the aisles, staring at me again. Now, I was scared. I decided to stop and walk straight to him. But as I got closer, he turned around and walked away. He didn't say anything. He didn't even look surprised. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept looking at my door. Was he following me? The next few days, it got worse. He was always there, standing outside my apartment, standing near the coffee shop. I even saw him in the reflection of a bus window. But when I turned around, no one was there. Finally, one morning, I lost it. I saw him standing across the street. I ran over and shouted, "Why are you following me?" He slowly tilted his head and whispered something I'll never forget. "You're the only one who can see me." I was frozen. What does that mean? Before I could ask anything else, he walked away and disappeared into the crowd. That night, I stayed awake with all my lights on. I checked the locks, I checked every window, nothing. But the next morning, there was a small box at my front door. No name, no return address. Inside was a photo, a Polaroid picture of me sleeping in my bed. Someone had taken it from inside my room. And on the back, there was a message written in messy handwriting, "Soon you won't see me either." I called the police. They came. They checked everything. They found nothing. No fingerprints, no sign of a break-in. And worse, he didn't show up on any of the security cameras. Now, I see him more often, but not outside anymore. He's closer. Sometimes I think he's inside my house, standing just behind me, just out of view. And I'm scared that one day I won't see anything at all. There's a small town near where I live. It's quiet. Nothing much happens there. They have a local radio station. It's not famous, but people in the town love it. The DJ plays old songs, tells jokes, and sometimes reads local news. He's been doing it for years. One night, there was a heavy storm. Thunder, lightning, strong wind, really scary weather. But the radio was still on. The DJ was playing a soft love song, like always. Then something strange happened. In the middle of the song, the music stopped. There was silence. Then the DJ's voice came on, but this time, he didn't sound calm. He sounded terrified. He whispered into the mic, "There's something in the studio with me. It got in. The door was locked, but it got in. Oh God, it's not human." And then silence. The radio went completely off air. The station never came back that night. The next morning, people in town called the police. They wanted to check the studio. When the police arrived, the building was empty. No sign of the DJ. No blood, no broken doors, no mess. Just one thing. The microphone was still on, and it was still picking up sound. When the officer leaned in to listen, he heard something soft, wet, dragging sounds, like something heavy being pulled across the floor, but no one was there. Here's the creepiest part. People who listened to the radio that night said they kept hearing strange whispers coming from their speakers, but the whispers weren't from the DJ. They were hearing their own voices. Some said they heard themselves saying things they never said. Others heard crying, laughing, or someone whispering their name. One woman said she turned off her radio after it whispered, "You're next." Now, that station is gone. No one works there. The building is locked up, abandoned. But sometimes, late at night, if you turn your radio to that same frequency, you still hear something. A soft voice, crying, begging, or maybe calling your name. I found the house online. It looked old, but beautiful. Big windows, wooden floors, a nice garden, and the price? Crazy cheap. When I asked the real estate agent why it was so low, she just smiled and said, "It just needs a little love." I moved in the next week. The first night, everything seemed fine. I unpacked my bags, made some tea, and went to bed. Around 2 a.m., I woke up, not because of a sound, but because I felt the walls moving. At first, I thought it was the wind, but it wasn't that. The walls weren't shaking or creaking. They were breathing. I pressed my hand to the wall. It moved under my palm, slow and steady, in and out, like a chest. I placed my ear against it, and I heard a sound deep inside. Lub, dub, lub, dub. A heartbeat. I backed away, confused. Was I dreaming? I tried to open the basement door, thinking maybe the heating system was broken, but the door was locked from the inside. That didn't make sense. How can a door be locked from inside if no one's down there? I grabbed a hammer and broke the lock. The door creaked open, but instead of stairs, there was no floor. Just a huge hole, a deep tunnel covered in wet, fleshy walls. It didn't look like bricks or concrete. It looked like the inside of a throat. The air smelled wrong, like something alive had been rotting for a long time. And from deep inside the tunnel, I heard something moving. Not footsteps, not an animal. It sounded like breathing, heavy, slow, and hungry. I slammed the door shut and nailed it shut with everything I could find. That night, I slept in my car. The next day, I put the house up for sale. The agent just smiled again and said, "People always leave, but the house is patient." Now, sometimes I dream of that heartbeat, and when I wake up, my walls feel warm, like they're waiting. It started small. One morning, I was brushing my teeth, and I noticed something strange in the mirror. My reflection blinked late, just a split second after me. I thought maybe I was just tired, but over the next few days, I noticed more weird things. Sometimes my reflection would smile, even when I wasn't smiling. Once, I tilted my head to the left, but in the mirror, I saw myself tilt to the right. I stood there, frozen. Then, the reflection copied me again, perfectly, as if it realized it had messed up. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was stress, or maybe the mirror was warped, but things got worse. One night, I woke up around 3 a.m. It was dark, but I felt like someone was watching me. I turned to look at the mirror across my room, and I saw something that made my heart stop. My reflection was standing up, but I was still lying in bed. It just stood there, in the mirror, looking at me, smiling. I jumped out of bed and turned on all the lights. But in the light, everything looked normal again. I decided to smash the mirror. I took a hammer and broke every single one in the house. Glass shattered everywhere. I felt better for a moment, but then I opened my phone. I accidentally turned on the front camera, and I saw it, my reflection, already there, waiting. It smiled, even though I didn't.
I work as a taxi driver. Most nights are normal, just driving people home. But one night, something happened. Something I'll never forget. It was raining heavily. The roads were empty, cold and dark. I was about to finish my shift when someone waved me down. It was a woman. She was standing on the side of the road, completely soaked, wearing a wedding dress. She looked scared, shivering. As soon as she got in the back seat, she said, "Drive, don't look back." Her voice was shaking, but serious. I didn't ask questions. I just started driving. For a few minutes, everything was silent. But then, I looked at her in the rearview mirror. Her face didn't look right. Her skin started melting, slowly like wax dripping from a candle. Her eyes sagged, her mouth drooped. Her skin slid off her bones. But she didn't make a sound. She just sat there, still, like nothing was happening. I panicked. I slammed the brakes. I turned around quickly. The back seat was empty, but the car door was still locked. No one had opened it. No one had left. I was shaking. I tried to calm down. Then, just a few minutes later, a man waved for a ride. I picked him up, trying to act normal. As he got in, he noticed something in the back seat. He bent down, picked it up, and smiled. It was a wedding ring. The man turned to me, grinned, and said something that still sends chills down my spine. "Oh good, she made it home." My neighbor had a dog, a big black dog that barked nonstop. Morning, barking. Afternoon, barking. Night, barking. For weeks, it drove me crazy. One evening, I finally had enough. I walked over to my neighbor's house to complain. I knocked on the door. No answer. But the barking didn't stop. I knocked again, louder. Still no reply. Then I heard something else. A soft, scratching sound coming from inside the house. I walked to the window and peeked inside. What I saw made me step back in shock. The dog was there, sitting in the living room. But its fur was dirty, wet, and its mouth was covered in blood. It was chewing on something long, something pale. I looked closer. It was a human arm. In the corner of the room, I saw my neighbor. He was sitting on the floor. His face was strange. His skin was pulled back tight. His mouth stretched into a huge, creepy grin. But his eyes were completely empty. Then the dog stopped chewing. It slowly turned its head toward me, and then it spoke in a deep, slow voice. He was the noisy one. It happened one night, around 3 a.m. I woke up, but I couldn't move. Not even my fingers, not my mouth, nothing. I was awake, but my body was completely frozen. It felt like something heavy was sitting on my chest. Then I felt it. Something was there. Slowly, a dark shadow leaned over me. I couldn't see its face, just the shape. It was crouching on top of me, watching me. I could feel its breath. It was hot, wet, and smelled like something rotten. Then it leaned closer to my ear and whispered, "Shh, you're still asleep." I tried to scream. I tried to move. Nothing worked. Then suddenly, I could breathe. I could move. I sat up, gasping for air. Was it a dream? A nightmare? But when I looked at my phone, I saw something terrifying. The camera was on. It had been recording a video the whole time.
I didn't remember starting it. I opened the video. At first, it showed me, lying in bed, eyes wide open. Then, on the video, I slowly sat up and I whispered, "It's still here." Then, the camera slowly turned to the corner of the room, and standing there was the shadow, smiling. Have you ever heard of the elevator game? It's a strange, creepy ritual. People say if you follow the steps exactly, you can travel to another world. A dark world. A world that looks like ours, but isn't. I was curious. I decided to try it. I found an old building with an elevator that had at least 10 floors. No one else was inside. I followed the rules. You press the buttons in a certain order. You must not talk to anyone who enters. And if a woman steps in, do not look at her. She's not real. I started. The elevator went up, down, up. Everything seemed fine. Then, on the 10th floor, the doors opened. A girl stepped in. She had long black hair, a white dress. She didn't press any buttons. She just stood there, staring straight ahead. I remembered the rule. Do not look at her. But I couldn't help it. I glanced at the reflection on the metal doors. Her face. It had no eyes. Just empty, dark holes. Suddenly, the lights in the elevator started flickering. The buttons began to flash on their own. The elevator shook, then shot upwards, faster than normal. When the doors opened again, the girl was gone, just vanished. But something felt wrong. When I stepped out, everything looked empty. The sky was dark red and cloudy. No people, no sound, just dead silence. I panicked. I rushed back into the elevator and pressed the buttons to go back. It worked. The doors closed. I held my breath. When I came back to my world, everything seemed normal. Except now, no matter what building I go to, every time I use an elevator, it always stops at the 10th floor. And every time when the doors open, she's there, waiting. When we moved into the new house, everything seemed fine. But after a few nights, I started hearing scratching sounds, soft but constant. It came from the walls or maybe the floor. I thought, must be rats, but it didn't sound like rats. It was slower, heavier, like fingers dragging. One evening, I decided to check the crawl space. It was under the house, small, dark, and dusty. I opened the little door, grabbed a flashlight, and crawled inside. And what I found made my whole body go cold. Inside the crawl space, there was a nest, a pile of torn clothes, old shoes, crumpled paper. But that wasn't the worst part. Scattered all around were photos of my family. Photos of me, my wife, my kids. Some of them taken from inside the house. I never took those pictures. Then I found a notebook, a diary. I opened it, and the handwriting looked exactly like mine. Page after page, written in my own handwriting. But I didn't write any of it. The last page said, "They think I'm her now." Suddenly, behind me, I heard a whisper, "You left the door open for me." I spun around with the flashlight. Nothing. I crawled out as fast as I could, slamming the crawlspace door shut. That night, As I lay in bed, I heard the scratching again, but this time it wasn't coming from under the floor. It was coming from under the bed.
It started one rainy night. I was watching TV when I noticed something outside the window. There was a man standing in the rain. No umbrella, no jacket, just standing there, soaking wet, head tilted, staring straight at my window. At first I thought maybe he was a lost traveler or someone waiting for a taxi, but he didn't move. Not for minutes, not for hours. He just stood there, staring, smiling, a big, empty, hollow smile. I tried to ignore it, but every time I peeked through the curtain, he was still there. I finally called the police. I told them, "There's a strange man standing outside my house. He won't leave." The officers came quickly. They searched the yard, looked around the street, but they found nothing, not even footprints. The ground was wet. It was raining heavily. There should have been footprints, but there were none. The officer walked back to me and said, "Sir, are you sure someone was there?" I nodded. I was sure. Then I glanced back at the window. My heart stopped. In the reflection of the glass, I saw him, still standing there, still smiling. But this time, his lips moved. He whispered something. I read his lips clearly. "I'm already inside." I turned around instantly. Nothing. But the floor behind me was wet, like someone had just walked in.